Let's be clear. If she doesn't feel even a hint of fear of losing you, you've already lost. If she considers you an open book, a nice, predictable guy, she may love you as a friend, but she'll never respect you as a man. Flirting isn't being nice. It's a psychological war that most men lose by default, because they don't even know they're in it. They think they're playing checkers, when the woman in front of them is actually playing a lethal game of chess. In this video, I'm going to reveal how to think like Machiavelli to master the mental game, apply strategic manipulation, and claim power in every one of your interactions. Either you learn the rules for controlling the board, or you resign yourself to being an expendable piece. Stay until the end if you're tired of losing. Topic 1. Introduction to Flirting and Persuasion. Let's get down to business. Champ, if you think flirting is about dropping a few cheesy lines you saw in a movie, you're screwed and you haven't even realized it. Flirting, the real kind, the kind that works, isn't for the good guys. It's a psychological battlefield, a delicate mental game where whoever understands the rules wins. And the rules weren't written by a poet. They were written by people like Machiavelli. It's about power, influence, directing the interaction where you want it, not where the current takes you. On this emotional chessboard, most men are mere expendable pawns. Their problem is that they enter the game without a defined masculine strategy, hoping that luck or chemistry will do the trick. The result? Failure, humiliation, the dreaded friend zone. But you won't be one of them. Today you're going to understand that flirting is, in fact, a piece of cake. But only if you stop playing checkers and start thinking like a king who moves his pieces with deadly, precise intent. To master this art, you must first understand the ecosystem, the terrain you're treading on. In the jungle of seduction, there are 3 types of men, and 2 of them are destined to be dinner. First, there's the nice guy, the attention beggar. This is the one who arrives with a nervous little smile, seeking her approval like a dog seeks its master's. He gives away his power from the first second, puts the woman on a pedestal, and then wonders why she sees him as a friend, a brother, or worse, a doormat. He doesn't understand the concept of respect. He thinks it's earned by being subservient, when in reality, he imposes himself. His lack of emotional control is so evident that she can smell his desperation from miles away. He doesn't generate desire. He generates pity. And pity, my friend, is the most potent poison against attraction. This man doesn't play, he's played. He's a passive piece on the board, moved by the queen's whim. His fate is sealed before he even opens his mouth, because his posture and energy have already communicated his defeat. Then, at the other end of the spectrum, we have the brute, the caveman. He mistakes confidence for arrogance and power for brute force. He approaches like a fighting bull, with overwhelming energy and phrases that sound like a command, not an invitation. He thinks he's being direct, an alpha male, but all he succeeds in doing is setting off all of a woman's alarm bells and defenses. She doesn't see a high-value man. She sees a predictable, socially uncalibrated jerk. This type of man attempts a form of manipulation so crude and obvious that it's almost an insult to female intelligence. He doesn't understand that true power isn't what is taken away, but what is given. It's the equivalent of trying to open a safe with a hammer. You'll only make noise, damage the lock, and never get to the treasure inside. His failure is just as certain as that of the nice guy, only louder and more embarrassing. It's a brainless display of strength, a masculine strategy doomed from its conception by its lack of subtlety. Finally, the figure that interests us emerges: the strategist, the master player. This is the man who has read Machiavelli not as a history book but as an instruction manual. He doesn't approach a woman, he opens up a playing field. He understands that every word, every silence, every glance is a move. His emotional control is absolute. He doesn't let himself be driven by anxiety or ego. His goal isn't getting the girl, it's winning the game, gaining respect and, as a natural consequence, attraction. This high-value man doesn't demonstrate his worth with words. He radiates it with his calm, with his penetrating gaze that seems to read her. He uses a masculine strategy based on subtlety, mystery, and being a challenge rather than an open book. He doesn't need to use brute force or servile supplication, because his main weapon is his mind. He masters the mental game because he knows that seduction doesn't occur between 2 bodies but between 2 minds. He is the conductor of the orchestra, while the others barely know how to clap. This strategist is a figure who embodies real power. He doesn't ask permission, he acts and lets the world adapt. His flirtation isn't a line, it's a web of intrigue. He uses forms of manipulation so elegant and subtle that a woman not only doesn't detect them, but actually enjoys the process of being engulfed. He knows that the greatest aphrodisiac is applied intelligence, the ability to lead the dance without seeming to give orders. This high-value man isn't afraid of silences, he uses them to his advantage. He isn't afraid of tension, he creates and manages it like an artist. He understands that to earn a queen's respect, you can't act like a jester or a barbarian. You have to prove you're a king in your own right, with your own kingdom and your own rules. This is the mentality that separates the boys from the men, the amateurs from the masters. Now that you know the map of the territory and the players, It's time to understand why most men, even those with good intentions, fall flat on their face on the first move. Topic 2. Why men fail at flirting now. Let's do the autopsy on failed attraction. Why do 99% of men fall flat on their face? The answer is so simple it hurts. Because their conversations are completely sexless. They talk to an attractive woman the same way they would talk to their aunt or a male colleague. They turn what should be a field of tension and sparks into a boring exchange of facts. They talk about the weather, the hottest TV show, how hard work was. Do you feel the emotion? Exactly, there isn't any. It's a flat EKG. This is the fundamental error that kills any possibility before it's born. They enter the mind game with the wrong tools, thinking that a logical, kind, good conversation is the way to go, when in reality, it's the direct highway to the friend zone. They don't understand that the language of seduction isn't verbal. It's subtextual. It's not about what you say, but what you communicate between the lines. And a conversation between friends communicates only one thing. I'm not a challenge. There's no power here. This massive failure stems from fear. Fear of offending, fear of being rejected, fear of being called a wimp. And that fear emasculates them, annihilates their masculine intent. They hide behind a mask of kindness and political correctness, hoping that she will magically decipher their intentions and make the first move. Pure fantasy. A woman isn't going to be attracted to a man who lacks the courage to show his desire. I'm not talking about being vulgar. I'm talking about having a clear intention. This lack of courage is an explicit surrender of power. It's laying down one's weapons before the battle. A high-value man understands that risk is inseparable from reward. His masculine strategy isn't based on avoiding rejection, but on polarizing. Either you attract her or you repel her. But never, under any circumstances, do you leave her indifferent. Indifference is death. And those safe, sexless conversations are the funeral where they bury their masculinity in the respect they could have earned. Think of this as a negotiation. If you're going to ask for a raise, you don't talk about how nice the office is. You get straight to the point, with power arguments. In seduction, the currency is sexual tension. If you don't bring it to the table, you're negotiating to be her friend, not her lover. Men fail because they focus on being interesting instead of being interesting in a masculine and attractive way. They think they must impress her with their resume, when what she craves is the vibration of a man who knows what he wants. This requires impeccable emotional control, because you must be willing to create that tension and sustain it, to be comfortable taking the risk. Most can't handle the pressure and retreat to the safe zone of small talk. It's a form of self-sabotage, a reversed manipulation where they convince themselves that being friends first is a viable strategy. It's the biggest lie men tell themselves to justify their lack of balls. The great Machiavelli wouldn't advise a prince to be ambiguous about his desire to rule a territory. Ambiguity is weakness. When your conversation is ambiguous, without an undercurrent of sexual intent, she assumes the dominant role and assigns you the category that suits her best, friend, confidant, the nice guy. And once that label is in place, ripping it off is nearly impossible. You've lost the mind game by default. The effective male strategy is one that sets the right frame from the start. The frame is, I'm a man, you're a woman, I'm attracted to you, and this interaction is going to be fun and exciting, not a job interview. This frame isn't spoken, it's demonstrated by the tone of voice, the look in your eyes, the cheeky jokes, the body language. It's demonstrated by creating an experience, not just having a conversation. Without that frame, there's nothing, no attraction, no seduction, no respect. So the problem isn't that men don't know what to talk about, the problem is that they don't understand how to talk. They choose the path of logic and safety, which is the path to sexual sterility. They become predictable, an open book, devoid of mystery or excitement. They believe attraction is a rational process, a tally of pros and cons on a mental checklist. But attraction is a visceral, animal reaction, ignited by boldness, mystery, and tension. It's an emotional response to masculine power. By avoiding any risk, by keeping the conversation on a safe, sexless plane, they kill the possibility of generating that reaction. They become white noise, and this is just the beginning of the disaster. Because this predictability manifests itself in even more serious mistakes, fatal mistakes that instantly kill attraction. The first, and perhaps the most common, is the mistake of being a complete, obvious, transparent jerk. Topic 4. Deadly mistake number 2. Using friend banter. Instead of sexual tension, the second deadly mistake is a subtle trap that even men who think they know what they're doing fall into. They mistake banter for sexual tension. They learn that it's supposed to be fun and playful, but they execute the technique with the energy of an older brother. They make jokes, tease her platonically, create excellent camaraderie to be her new best friend. This is a catastrophic failure in male strategy. They're on the right battlefield, but they're using blanks. The goal of flirting isn't just to make her laugh. It's to make her laugh while feeling an electric current of tension. Banter is comfortable, safe, and completely devoid of sexual polarity. It annihilates the power of male-female attraction and places you squarely in the adorable, fun, harmless category. And in the mind game of seduction, harmless is synonymous with invisible. The difference between the seductive banter and the one who turns you into just another friend is intention and risk. The friend banter seeks common ground and mutual approval. The sexually tense banter seeks to create a challenge, a playful us against the world or you against me. It's the difference between saying, "So you like that band too? That's great," and saying, with a lopsided grin, "That good girl look isn't fooling anyone. I'm sure you're the one getting your friends into trouble." The first comment builds friendship. The second builds intrigue, challenges her, creates a narrative, a role. It requires ironclad emotional control to deliver it with perfect calibration, without being aggressive. It's a form of high emotional manipulation. You don't force anything on her, but you invite her into a game much more interesting than simple small talk. A high-value man doesn't look for common ground. He creates a connection through tension. To create this tension, calculated risk is indispensable. You must be willing for a joke to fall flat, for a comment to be misinterpreted. A man who risks nothing gains nothing. This is the core of masculine intent. Your communication, verbal and nonverbal, must convey that you're not there by chance. You're there for a purpose. As a man, this courage, this willingness to walk the razor's edge between funny and daring, is what generates deep respect. She, on a primal level, recognizes such boldness as a sign of power and confidence. A man who only makes safe comedy jokes is screaming that he's afraid. And fear is the most effective woman repellent there is. Your masculine strategy must embrace risk as a tool to filter and polarize from a power perspective. As Machiavelli would teach, a prince cannot rule. By being merely kind, he must have an unpredictable, dangerous side. In seduction, your dangerous side is your sexual intent. If you hide it under a mountain of harmless banter, you are abdicating your masculine role in the interaction. You are ceding leadership to her, expecting her to sexualize the environment. She won't. She is biologically programmed to respond to male initiative. By offering only friendship, you are disappointing her on a subconscious level. You are failing in a man's first duty in courtship. To lead, this failure at the mental game is a sure sign that you are not a high-value man, but an amateur who fears the consequences of his own desire. Thus, the line between lover and friend is drawn with the ink of sexual tension. Men who fail at this point do so because they play not to lose, rather than to win. They prefer the comfort zone of platonic banter to the exciting but uncertain, in the territory of genuine flirting. They build themselves, with their own hands, the bridge that leads directly into the friend zone, and then regret ever having gotten there. This inability to create and sustain tension is one of the main reasons for male failure. But this game goes both ways. It's one thing for you to not know how to create tension, and quite another to not know what to do when she's the one throwing it at you, when she's testing you to see if you're as strong as you seem. Topic 5. How to deal with female tests. Sooner or later, if you've done something right, she'll test you. Don't take it personally. It's a filtering mechanism as old as humanity itself. A woman test is a minefield for the average man and a golden opportunity for the strategist. When she throws you a provocation or a veiled challenge, you sure are a heartthrob. She's not looking for information. She's testing your frame, your solidity, your emotional control. She wants to know if the high-value man you project is real or a facade. 99% of men fail miserably. They get defensive, justify themselves, or get angry. Each of these reactions is an immediate fail. You're communicating to her that you have no power over yourself and therefore can never have it over her. To lose in this mind game is to hand her your head on a platter and annihilate any respect you might have built. To pass these tests with flying colors, you must master the accept and amplify technique. It's a form of verbal judo. Instead of resisting, you use her strength to your advantage. When she throws the bait at you, you don't just deny it, you accept it and exaggerate it to the point of absurdity. If she says, "I bet you say that to all of them," the amateur will shake his head in panic. The master smiles and replies, "Not to all of them, just the ones who pass the first filter. I had 7 conversations scheduled today. Yours is the 5th. You're doing well, but the competition is tough." This accomplishes several things. You demonstrate bulletproof confidence. You disarm her with humor, and you subtly communicate that you don't need her approval. It's a show of power and a brilliant masculine strategy. You're taking control of the frame and showing that her attempt to destabilize you is child's play for you. This technique is a manifestation of a much deeper mindset, that of being the prize. This is the most important paradigm shift a man must make. You are not there to win her over. She is there to earn a place in your world. A prize doesn't chase, it is pursued. It doesn't seek validation, it grants it. This is the essence of a high-value man. His mental framework is so solid that her evidence bounces off him like rubber bullets in a tank. When she tests you, deep down she is asking, "Are you really the prize you appear to be?" Your calm and playful response, using accept and amplify, is the confirmation she seeks. This principle, worthy of Machiavelli, dictates that a prince who behaves like a beggar will be treated as such. Behave like a king, like the prize, and you will be seen as such. To keep her in that state of doubt and desire, use the push-pull technique. This is the quintessential tool for creating an emotional roller coaster, the engine of tension. It consists of giving her a signal of interest, pull, and immediately following it with a signal of disinterest or a small challenge push. For example, you lean toward her and say quietly, "Come closer, I'm going to tell you a secret." Pull. As she approaches, you stare at her and say with a smile, double quotes, "Now that I see you up close, I realize you have a wicked spark in your eyes." Dangerous push. This is a high-caliber form of emotional manipulation. You keep her guessing, you take her out of her comfort zone, and you make the mind game infinitely more addictive. You prevent her from taking you for granted and force her to work hard to regain your interest. Mastering these tools, managing tests with accept and amplify, embodying the prize mentality, and creating emotional peaks with push-pull is what graduates you with honors in the art of seduction. It's the practical application of the concepts of power and emotional control. You stop being a reactive piece on her board and become the hand that moves all the pieces. You no longer react to her reality. She starts reacting to yours. This is the pinnacle of effective male strategy. When you master this level of interaction, you cease to be a mere participant and become the architect of the game. And once you're the master of the game, all that's left is to know how to conclude the game and claim victory. Topic 6. Conclusion and call to action. We've traveled the path from private to general, from pawn to king. What I've revealed to you isn't magic tricks or phrases to memorize like a parrot. It's a change in operating system. It's beginning to understand the silent language of power and the dynamics of respect that govern every human interaction, especially seduction. Techniques like accept and amplify or push-pull are just weapons. True strength lies in the mind of the strategist who wields them. A true man of high value doesn't just learn the moves, he internalizes the philosophy of the mental game. He understands that every conversation is a chessboard and every silence a move. This is the only way to stop being an amateur and become a master, someone whose control of the situation is as natural as breathing. Think of the transformation before you entered an interaction like a rudderless ship, at the mercy of the waves of her moods and the storm of her trials. Now, you have the map, the compass, and the knowledge to navigate in any climate. The ultimate goal of this masculine strategy isn't to win every woman that's beginner's thinking. The real prize is achieving emotional control so unshakable that nothing external can knock you off your center. It's a lethal calm, a confidence that doesn't need to shout because it's in the air. When you reach that state, you stop chasing and become magnetic. This inner mastery will not only revolutionize your love life, it will reshape every area of your life where influence and persuasion are the key to victory. To embrace this philosophy is to adopt a Machiavellian mindset in the purest and most effective sense. Machiavelli didn't write for saints, but for princes who must rule in a real world full of traps, ambition, and hidden agendas. Modern courtship is no different. It's a brutal ecosystem where idealism is punished and strategic realism is rewarded. Being a strategist doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you effective, someone who sees the world as it is and not as fairy tales say it should be. The ultimate masculine strategy is this: realism over hope. Hope is for those who pray for rain. Men of power learn to dig their own wells. Hope is the strategy of the loser. Now, this knowledge places you in an exclusive circle. You are no longer part of the masses operating in fear and ignorance. Therefore, the mind game doesn't end here. Knowledge is power, but shared knowledge among strategists is power. I want you to use the comments section not to complain like the weak, but to contribute value. What tactics, what subtle maneuvers of positive manipulation have you used that worked for you? In what situation did you pass a feminine test that would have destroyed another man? Let's turn this space into a war council, a roundtable for men who understand the game and want to hone their weapons. Your experience on the battlefield is valuable. Share it. Consider this not as an end, but as your graduation to the next level. You've learned the alphabet. Now it's your turn to write your own epic. Mastering the art of flirting, of the initial mind game, is only the first phase. The real challenge, the big league game, is maintaining that power and respect over the long term in a relationship where the dynamics change and become infinitely more complex. That's a completely different art, with its own rules and its own deadly traps. So stay alert, because the game never ends. It only changes scenery. And for the strategist, each new scenario is a new opportunity to demonstrate their mastery.